The alarm shrieked at 6 in the morning. Claire Morrison's hand shot out from under the blanket, slapping the phone screen until blessed silence returned. She lay there for 3 seconds, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a deformed butterfly, then forced herself upright. The apartment was cramped. 2 bedrooms barely bigger than closets, a kitchen where you couldn't open the fridge and oven simultaneously, walls so thin she could hear Mrs. Patterson next door coughing. Claire's feet hit the cold laminate floor. November had arrived with teeth. She dressed in the dark, navy blue scrubs, white sneakers with a split forming along the left sole, her auburn hair pulled into a functional ponytail. In the bathroom mirror, freckles stood out across her pale nose. 28 years old, and she looked permanently exhausted. The coffee maker gurgled while she checked her bank account on her phone. $412. Rent was due in 6 days. $850 for her half. The number sat in her stomach like a stone. "You're up early." Nina shuffled into the kitchen, pink hair sticking up at odd angles. One of her many graphic design client shirts wrinkled from sleep. "Same time as always." "That's what I mean. It's inhumane." Nina grabbed the coffee pot before Claire could pour her own cup. "You working late tonight?" "Just normal shift. 8 to 6. We should get drinks after. You need to relax." Claire thought about her bank account. Maybe next week. She was halfway out the door when she heard the thump from across the hall. Then Mrs. Patterson's voice, frustrated and small. Claire knocked. "Mrs. Patterson, you okay?" The door opened. The elderly woman stood there in her bathrobe, grocery bags scattered around her feet in the hallway. "These damned things. My hands aren't what they used to be." "Let me help. You'll be late for work, dear." Claire was already gathering the bags. Canned soup, bread, cat food, everything impossibly heavy for someone with arthritis. She carried them inside, set them on Mrs. Patterson's counter. "You're a blessing, Claire." "It's nothing." But it made her 15 minutes late, and traffic was worse than usual, and she arrived at the Riverside Blood Donation Center with exactly 2 minutes before her shift started. The center smelled like antiseptic and recycled air. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that particular shade of institutional white. Claire clocked in, tied on her name badge, and started setting up her station. "Morning, Claire." Dr. Patricia Wells appeared with her clipboard and reading glasses perched on her nose. "We've got a full schedule today, 17 appointments plus walk-ins." I saw the list. "Oh, and we're running low on AB negative. Just 1 unit left." Claire nodded. AB negative, the universal plasma donor. Rare. Only about 1% of people carried it. The morning passed in a rhythm she could do with her eyes closed. Check donor eligibility. Find the vein. Insert the needle. Monitor the collection. Bandage and offer juice. Repeat. She was gentle with the nervous ones. A teenage boy donating for the first time went pale when he saw the needle. "Look at me, not at your arm," Claire said softly. "Tell me about school. What's your favorite class?" History, I guess." "Yeah? What period?" He talked about World War II while she slid the needle in. He didn't even flinch. "All done." His eyes went wide. "Already?" "Already. You did great." It was 2:30 when the phone in the back office started ringing. Claire was cataloging the day's donations, making notes in the system. Dr. Wells answered, and Claire heard the shift in her voice immediately. "When? How critical?" Claire looked up. Dr. Wells covered the receiver. "St. Catherine's Hospital, emergency patient, massive internal bleeding from some kind of accident. They need AB negative immediately. We have 1 unit. They need 3, minimum." Claire's hands stilled on the keyboard. "We can call other centers." They already did. Everyone's out. There was a multi-car pileup yesterday that depleted regional supplies. Dr. Wells listened to the phone again. Her face tightened. "The patient is coding. They need blood in the next 20 minutes or he's not going to make it." The office felt very small. Claire heard herself speak. "I'm AB negative." Dr. Wells looked at her. "Claire, I can donate, right now." "You can't. There are protocols. Testing takes time, and you worked a full shift. You need to be rested, properly hydrated." "Dr. Wells." Claire stood. "Someone is dying. If you donate under these conditions, you could pass out, have complications. But it's possible." The phone crackled with tinny urgency. Dr. Wells looked between it and Claire. "Get in the chair," she finally said. They moved fast. Claire sat in her own donation chair, the irony not lost on her. Dr. Wells prepped her arm with the efficiency of 3 decades in the field. The questionnaire was verbal, rapid fire. Any medications? No. Alcohol in the last 24 hours? No. Feeling healthy? No dizziness? No illness? I'm fine. The needle went in. Claire had done this before, knew the sensation. But it felt different when you were watching your own blood flow through the tube into the collection bag. Dark red, almost purple. The color of life leaving your body to save someone else's. We're doing a full unit, Dr. Wells said. 450 milliliters. You're going to feel it. Claire already felt it, a coldness creeping up her arm. 10 minutes in, the world started to soften at the edges. Wells kept checking her blood pressure, her eyes sharp with concern. Your pressure's dropping. Keep going. Claire, keep going. 15 minutes. Claire's head felt disconnected from her body, floating somewhere above the chair. She focused on the collection bag, watching it fill. Someone needed this. Someone was dying without it. That's enough. Dr. Wells clamped the line. Is it a full unit? Close enough. More than that and I'm putting you in a hospital bed. They rushed the blood through processing. Abbreviated testing. Dr. Wells made calls, cut through red tape with the authority of someone who'd been doing this longer than Claire had been alive. 40 minutes after the initial call, a hospital courier was sprinting out the door with a cooler. Claire lay in the recovery area with juice she couldn't taste and crackers that felt like sawdust. The fluorescent lights were too bright. Everything was too bright. Dr. Wells sat beside her. That was reckless. Did it get there in time? They said the patient was in surgery. It's out of our hands now. Claire closed her eyes. She pictured someone she'd never met. Pictured them living because she'd made this choice. Go home, Dr. Wells said. Take tomorrow off. I'm fine. That wasn't a suggestion. Nina was on the couch with her laptop when Claire stumbled. Through the apartment door at 7, she took one look and jumped up. What happened to you? Donated blood. I'm okay. You look like death. Thanks. Nina hovered while Claire collapsed onto her bed, fully clothed. The room spun gently, a carousel moving at quarter speed. She should eat something. She should drink water. She should do a lot of things. Instead, she fell asleep. The phone woke her. Claire surfaced from dreams she couldn't remember, disoriented in the darkness of her room. Her phone screen said midnight. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Is this Claire Morrison? A man's voice. Deep. Professional. Who's asking? I'm calling from St. Catherine's Hospital regarding the blood donation you made today. The patient received your blood and has stabilized. He's out of immediate danger. Relief flooded through her. That's wonderful. He's asking who donated. He wants to express his gratitude personally. Something in the way he said it made Claire pause. The donation was anonymous. Yes, hospital policy. I explained that, but he's very insistent, Miss Morrison. Very insistent. I thought perhaps you might consent to. No, thank you, but no. I'm glad he's okay. That's enough. She hung up. For a long moment, Claire sat in the dark, phone in her hand. Something felt off about that call. The man's tone, the late hour, the way he'd pushed. She placed the phone on her nightstand and lay back down. Outside her window, 3 stories below in the parking lot, a black SUV sat with its engine running. Inside, a man lowered his phone and looked up at her window. Then he made another call. She refused contact, sir, very firmly. On the other end, in a private hospital room with machines beeping steadily, Victor Kane lay against white pillows and stared at the ceiling. His chest was wrapped in bandages. Tubes ran from his arms. Find out everything about her, he said quietly. Sir? Everything. Where she works, where she lives, what she needs. He paused. She gave me her blood. That's not a debt I leave unpaid. 3 days passed before the flowers arrived. Claire was processing a donation when Dr. Wells called her to the front desk. The arrangement sat there like something from a funeral home. Black roses wound through white lilies. All of it arranged in a crystal vase that probably cost more than Claire's monthly rent. Ease came for you, Dr. Wells said, eyebrows raised. Claire approached slowly. No card. She circled the arrangement, looking for anything that might explain it. Secret admirer? One of the other phlebotomists called out. I don't think so. The flowers were beautiful, in an unsettling way. Too elegant, too expensive, too deliberate. Claire touched one of the black roses and pulled her hand back. The thorns had been removed. You going to take them home? No. Claire stepped away. Leave them here. But all day, she felt their presence. Every time she walked past the front desk, there they were, watching. At 6 o'clock, she clocked out and headed for her car. The November air bit at her face. She pulled her jacket tighter and stopped. Across the street, in the parking lot of a clothes hardware store, sat a black SUV. Claire stared at it. Tinted windows, engine running, exhaust curling in the cold air. It could be anyone. People parked in lots all the time. She got in her car and drove home. The SUV didn't follow. She checked. Nina was working late on a client project, so the apartment was empty. Claire heated up leftover pasta and tried to focus on a book she'd been reading for 3 weeks. The words wouldn't stick. She kept thinking about those flowers. Her phone buzzed. Bank notification. She opened it expecting to see her dwindling balance. Instead, she stared at the screen. Insufficient funds. Card declined at Riverside Grocery. Transaction blocked. But she hadn't been to the grocery store today. Claire checked her account history. The last transaction was from 2 days ago. $73 for utilities. Before that, coffee. Before that, gas. Nothing at Riverside Grocery. She was still staring at her phone when Nina came home at 9. Did you try to use my debit card? Claire asked. What? No. Why? I got a weird notification. Nina dropped her bag and collapsed on the couch. Your bank is probably just glitching. Mine does that constantly. Maybe. But Claire couldn't shake the feeling that things were accumulating. The midnight call. The flowers. Now this. The next morning, she stopped at Riverside Grocery on her way to work. She needed coffee and bread, basic supplies to get through the week. At the register, she handed over her card. The reader beeped. Declined. Can you try again? Claire asked. The cashier swiped it 3 times. Declined. 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 Heat crept up Claire's neck. There were people behind her in line. She could feel their impatience radiating forward. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Let me just... She checked her banking app. $412. The same balance as 3 days ago. The card should work. I'll have to put these back. The cashier started removing items. Coffee, bread, the cheap cheese Claire bought. Each one felt like a small humiliation. She was 28 years old and couldn't afford groceries. Miss? Claire turned. The cashier was pointing toward the door. That man said he's got it. What man? But when Claire looked, all she saw was the automatic doors sliding shut. Through the glass, she caught a glimpse of broad shoulders in a dark coat, then nothing. He already paid, the cashier said, completing the transaction. Gave me cash. I don't understand. Said to tell you it's handled. The cashier bagged everything. Must be nice having someone look out for you. Claire took the bags with numb hands. Outside, the parking lot was half empty. Morning shoppers loading cars, a delivery truck idling. No man in a dark coat, but in the far corner, almost out of sight, sat a black SUV. Claire walked to her car slowly. She loaded the groceries. She sat in the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel. Someone was watching her. Someone was paying for things. She drove to work on autopilot. Dr. Wells noticed immediately. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. Claire. I said I'm fine. The day crawled. Between donations, Claire tried calling the hospital again. She'd tried twice already this week. Each time, they transferred her endlessly. Patient information, billing, administration. No one would tell her anything about the man who'd received her blood. This time, she got as far as someone in records before the line went dead. Not disconnected. Dead. Like someone had deliberately ended the call. Claire sat in the break room, staring at her phone. You sure you're okay? Dr. Wells appeared in the doorway with her lunch. Do people ever try to find out who donated to them? Sometimes. Why? What do you tell them? Dr. Wells sat down. That it's against policy. Don it. Ions are anonymous for everyone's protection. Why are you asking? Claire considered telling her everything. The flowers, the grocery store, the SUV she kept seeing. But saying it out loud would make it real. And she wasn't ready for that. Just curious. That evening, Claire came home to find Nina waiting with a strange expression. The building manager came by. Claire set down her bag. And? Your rent's paid for the next 3 months. The world tilted slightly. What? He said an anonymous benefactor called the management office this morning. Paid your portion through February in full. Cashier's check. Already cleared. Claire sat down on the couch before her legs could give out. That's not possible. I mean, it happened. He showed me the receipt. Nina sat beside her. This is insane. Do you know who it could be? No. Maybe a relative? Someone who wants to help but doesn't want credit? Claire's family was small. Her mother had died when she was 19. Her father had remarried and moved to Arizona, sent a card at Christmas. No siblings. No wealthy aunts or generous cousins. This is wrong, Claire said. How is someone paying your rent wrong? Because I don't know who it is. Because I didn't ask for this. Because… She stopped. Her hands were shaking. Nina grabbed them. Hey, breathe. Maybe it's a good thing. The universe paying you back for being a decent person. The universe doesn't work like that. Then maybe someone who knows you do. Claire pulled away and walked to her room. She closed the door and leaned against it. Her phone was in her pocket. She pulled up Google and typed with unsteady fingers. Victor Kane. The results were sparse. A few mentions in business filings. A photograph from a charity gala 3 years ago, his face partially turned from the camera. Real estate holdings listed under Kane Enterprises. Then she found the Reddit thread. Does anyone know about the Kane family? The responses were careful, vague. People dancing around something they were afraid to name directly. Old money, real old. They run things on the east side. Not officially, but everyone knows. My cousin worked for one of their businesses. Said you don't ask questions. If you're asking, you already know too much. Claire's chest tightened. She spent 2 hours falling down digital rabbit holes, forums, local news articles that mentioned names without details. A pattern emerged. The Kanes were connected to things people didn't discuss openly. Money laundering, maybe. Trafficking, possibly. Violence, certainly. At 11 at night, she was still awake, sitting in the dark with her phone's glow on her face. A sound from the living room made her freeze. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Claire's door was closed. She'd locked the apartment door. She was sure of it. Nina was asleep. She'd heard her go to bed an hour ago. The footsteps stopped outside her room. Then a card slid under her door. Claire stared at it. Black. Silver lettering embossed so deeply she could see it from across the room. Just a phone number. Nothing else. She waited 5 minutes before opening her door. The apartment was empty. The front door was still locked, chain in place. Nina's door was closed. Soft snoring audible. Claire picked up the card. Heavy stock, expensive. The kind of thing that cost more to print than regular people spent on entire boxes of business cards. On the back, handwritten in precise script, he'll try once more, politely. Then he'll insist. Claire didn't sleep that night. Claire's car broke down on Thursday morning. She turned the key and got a clicking sound that meant nothing good. Tried again, more clicking. The engine that had been coughing for 2 months finally gave up entirely. No, she whispered. Please no. She tried 5 more times. Then she sat back and stared through the windshield at the gray morning. Nina had already left for a client meeting. The bus would make her an hour late to work. Claire called a tow truck. The mechanic at Lopez Auto didn't even try to soften the blow. He wiped his hands on a rag and shook his head. Transmission's gone. I can rebuild it, but you're looking at $1,800. Maybe $2,000 with labor. Claire's savings account had $412. The number hadn't changed in a week, because she'd been afraid to spend anything. How long can I wait? To fix it? I mean, you can wait forever. Car's not going anywhere. He gestured at her sedan on the lift. But you're not driving it until that transmission's replaced. She took the bus home. 45 minutes of stops and strangers and fluorescent lighting. When she got back to the apartment, she sat on her bed and pulled out the black card. The number stared back at her. She'd spent 3 days researching Victor Kane. What little she'd found painted a picture she didn't want to look at directly. But the flowers, the groceries, the rent, the card under her door, all of it pointed to him. The man whose life she'd saved wanted to express his gratitude. And apparently, he didn't take no for an answer. Claire picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again. Nina would tell her she was overthinking. Dr. Wells would tell her to go to the police. But what would she say? Someone paid my rent and bought my groceries? They'd think she was insane. She dialed before she could stop herself. 1 ring, 2. Yes, a man's voice. Not the one from the hospital call. This one was rougher, closer to the ground. I'm calling about… Claire's voice shook. She steadied it. Someone left me this number. Miss Morrison. He knew her name. Of course he did. Mr. Kane would like to meet with you. I don't know any Mr. Kane. He'd like to remedy that. Tonight at 8, the Anchor Room. A car will pick you up at 7:30. I didn't agree to 7:30, Miss Morrison. The line went dead. Claire stared at her phone. The Anchor Room. She'd heard of it. The kind of restaurant that required reservations 6 months in advance and had prices that weren't listed on the menu, because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. She called back. It rang once and went to voicemail. No greeting, just a beep. I'm not going, she said to the silence. You can't just summon people. I don't care who you are. She hung up and immediately felt foolish for leaving a message. Nina came home at 6 and found Claire sitting in the same spot. Did you move at all today? My car's dead. Transmission. Shit. How much? 1,800. Nina winced. Can you get a payment plan? Maybe. Claire looked at her. Someone wants to meet me tonight. Like a date? Not exactly. She explained part of it. The hospital patient. The mysterious gratitude. Nina's eyes went wide. That's so romantic. It's not romantic. It's weird. A mysterious man saving your life in return? That's literally a romance novel. Nina. Fine. It's weird. Are you going? Claire hadn't decided until that moment. Yes. What are you wearing? Guy. I don't have anything appropriate for the Anchor Room. Nina's eyes lit up. Good thing I'm a designer who gets invited to fancy events. 20 minutes later, Claire stood in front of the mirror wearing a simple black dress that Nina swore was classic enough to fit anywhere. It hit just above her knees, sleeveless, nothing flashy. Nina had done something to her hair that made it look intentional instead of just pulled back. You look beautiful, Nina said. Claire looked terrified. At 7:30 exactly, her phone buzzed. Car downstairs. The SUV was black, obviously. The driver got out and opened the rear door without speaking. Claire hesitated on the sidewalk. This was insane. She was getting into a car sent by a man she'd never met, who'd been stalking her for days, to go to a restaurant she couldn't afford to pay for if things went badly. She got in. The interior smelled like leather and something expensive she couldn't name. The driver pulled into traffic smoothly. Claire watched the city pass through tinted windows. 15 minutes later, they stopped in front of the Anchor Room. The building was old brick, with ivy and soft lighting that made everything look like an oil painting. The driver opened her door. Good evening, Miss Morrison. The maitre d' appeared as if summoned. Right this way. He knew her name. He'd been expecting her. Claire followed him through the main dining room. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, conversations held in murmurs. Everyone looked wealthy in that effortless way that came from generational money. They went past all of it, through a hallway to a door at the back. The maitre d' opened it. The private room was smaller, more intimate. One table, 2 chairs, and sitting in the far one, facing the door, was a man who made Claire's breath catch. Victor Kane was 35, but looked ageless, in the way powerful men often did. Tall. She could tell even with him sitting. Black hair styled precisely, steel-gray eyes that assessed her in the 2 seconds it took to walk through the door. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her dead car, dark charcoal, no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. There was a scar visible along his collarbone where the shirt opened. He stood when she entered, smooth, controlled, like every movement was calculated. Miss Morrison. His voice matched his appearance, deep. Even, no wasted words. Thank you for coming. I didn't have much choice. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. Please, sit. Claire sat. The chair was more comfortable than anything in her apartment. Victor sat across from her. Between them, the table was set for 2. Wine glasses, multiple forks, cloth napkins folded into shapes Claire didn't recognize. I wanted to thank you, he said. You already did. The flowers, the groceries, the rent. That was inadequate. That was stalking. His mouth moved. Not quite a smile. Direct. I appreciate that. A waiter appeared with wine. Victor nodded, and the waiter poured. Claire didn't touch hers. You saved my life, Victor said. That's not a debt I take lightly. I was doing my job. You gave your own blood when you were exhausted from a full shift. That's not protocol. That was choice. He leaned back slightly. I researched you, Claire. May I call you Claire? You already know everything about me. What's my name matter? It matters to me. Something in the way he said it made her pause. This man was dangerous. Every instinct screamed it. But he was looking at her like she was a puzzle he genuinely wanted to solve. "Why am I here?" Claire asked. Victor reached into his jacket. Claire tensed. He noticed and moved slower, pulling out an envelope. He set it on the table between them. Claire could see the thickness. Cash. A lot of it. "I can't accept that. It's not charity. It's gratitude. I don't want your money." "What do you want?" "For you to stop following me. Stop paying my bills. Stop sending your people to watch my apartment." Victor tilted his head slightly. "I wasn't following you. I was protecting you." "From what?" "From the people who might assume you're important to me." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Claire leaned forward. "So helping you put me in danger?" "Yes." At least he was honest. "Which is why," Victor continued, "I'm going to keep you safe. I don't need your protection. You do now. The moment you donated your blood, you became connected to me. My enemies don't ignore connections." Claire's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat on the table. "I want my normal life back. That's no longer possible. Because of you. Because of your choice to save me. So I should have let you die?" Some would argue yes. The honesty of it hit her like cold water. Victor wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. He was laying it out simply. She'd saved a dangerous man. Now there were consequences. "Who are you?" Claire asked quietly. "Someone whose gratitude you don't want to refuse." Before Claire could respond, the window exploded. Glass shattered inward in a spray of crystalline fragments. Claire heard a sound like thunder. Victor moved faster than she thought possible, his chair crashing backward as he lunged across the table. His body covered hers, driving them both to the floor. More thunder. The wall where Victor had been sitting erupted in plaster dust. Gunfire. That was gunfire. Victor's weight pressed her into the carpet. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His hand was on the back of her head, holding her down, his other arm wrapped around her shoulders. Shouting. Running footsteps. More gunfire. Different direction. Then movement all around them. Men in dark suits appearing from nowhere. Surrounding them, weapons drawn. One of them was shouting coordinates. Another was on a phone. Victor lifted slightly. "What about me? Are you hit?" Claire couldn't form words. "Claire, look at me. Are you injured?" She met those steel-gray eyes. Up close she could see a small cut on his cheek from the glass. Blood ran down to his jaw. "I don't know," she whispered. Hands grabbed them both, pulling them apart, rushing them toward the door. Victor kept one hand locked around her wrist. They moved through the restaurant in a blur of panicked diners and overturned tables. Outside, 3 SUVs waited. Victor pushed Claire into the middle one and climbed in behind her. The door slammed. They were moving before she'd even registered sitting down. Victor spoke to the driver. "The estate, now." Then he turned to Claire. His hands moved over her arms, her shoulders, checking for wounds with clinical efficiency. "You're okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "You're okay." Claire looked down. Her borrowed dress was covered in plaster dust and tiny glass fragments. Her hands were scraped from the carpet. But Victor was right. She was okay. "What just happened?" Victor's jaw tightened. "Someone just tried to kill you to hurt me. You said you were protecting me." "I am." He looked out the window as the city blurred past, but I underestimated how quickly they'd move. "Who?" "People who want me dead." Claire started laughing. It came out broken and hysterical. "This is insane. 3 days ago I was worried about my transmission." Victor looked at her, really looked at her. Something shifted in his expression. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "You didn't deserve this." "No, I didn't." The SUV turned off the highway onto a private road. Trees lined both sides, naked branches against the night sky. They drove for what felt like miles before gates appeared. Tall, iron, topped with cameras. The gates opened. Beyond them, lit by security lights, stood an estate that looked like it belonged in a different century. Stone walls, multiple buildings, armed men patrolling the grounds. "Where are we?" Claire asked. "Somewhere safe," Victor said. The SUV stopped in front of the main house. Victor got out and extended his hand to help her. Claire looked at it, at him, at the armed men surrounding them. She took his hand and let him lead her inside. The inside of Victor's estate looked like a museum. Marble floors, artwork Claire recognized from textbooks, furniture that belonged behind velvet ropes. Her sneakers squeaked as she walked, the sound obscenely loud in the silence. Victor led her through a hallway where a man appeared with a medical bag. "Dr. Brennan," Victor said, "check her for injuries." The doctor was 60 with kind eyes and steady hands. He gestured to a sitting room off the main hall. Claire let herself be guided to a leather couch that probably cost more than her entire apartment's contents. Dr. Brennan worked quietly, checked her pupils, her pulse, ran his hands along her arms and legs looking for breaks or sprains. He cleaned the scrapes on her palms with antiseptic that stung. Minor abrasions, no concussion. "She's physically fine." He looked at Claire. "Though shock can set in later, if you feel dizzy or nauseous, tell someone immediately." Victor stood in the doorway watching. When the doctor finished and left, Claire finally spoke. "I want to go home." "No, you can't keep me here." "I can, and I will." Victor stepped into the room. The cut on his cheek had stopped bleeding, but the line of it remained, stark against his skin. "Roman Volkov just tried to kill you. He won't stop because you go home and pretend this didn't happen." "Who is Roman Volkov?" "Someone who wants me dead and doesn't care who gets hurt in the process." Claire stood. Her legs shook but held. "This is kidnapping. This is protection. I didn't ask for it." Victor's jaw tightened. "You made the choice when you gave me your blood. Actions have consequences." "So I should have let you die? That's the lesson here?" "Some would say yes." Claire walked toward him. She was 8 inches shorter, but rage made her feel taller. "I saved your life because that's what decent people do. I didn't sign up for gunfights and whatever criminal empire you're running." "No, you signed up the moment you acted. The world doesn't care about your intentions, Claire, only your choices." "Then I choose to leave." She moved past him toward the door. Victor's hand shot out, not grabbing her, but blocking her path. Claire looked up at him. "Please," he said quietly. The word sounded foreign in his mouth, like he didn't use it often. 24 hours. "Give me 24 hours to secure the situation. If Volkov thinks you're unimportant, he'll lose interest. And if he doesn't, then we deal with it, together." Claire wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to rewind 4 days and tell herself not to donate that blood. But standing in this hallway with this dangerous man, looking at her like she was something fragile he didn't know how to hold, she found herself nodding. 24 hours. Victor's shoulders dropped slightly. Relief, maybe. "Thank you." He showed her to a guest room on the second floor. It was larger than her bedroom and living room combined. 4-poster bed, attached bathroom with marble counters, a window that overlooked the grounds. "There's clothes in the closet," Victor said from the doorway. "If they don't fit, tell someone. Anything you need, ask. Can I call my roommate? She'll be worried." Victor pulled a phone from his pocket. Different from the one she'd seen him use earlier. "This one's secure. Tell her you're safe, but don't say where." Claire took it. "You think Volkov would go after Nina?" "I think Volkov would go after anyone connected to you to draw you out." He paused. "I have someone watching your apartment. She's safe." The thought of strange men watching Nina made Claire's skin crawl. But arguing seemed pointless. She was in this now, however unwillingly. Victor left, closing the door behind him. Claire called Nina. It rang 4 times before her roommate picked up. "Hello? Nina, it's me." "Claire, oh my God, are you okay? You never came home and I tried calling but it went to voicemail. And, I'm fine. Something came up. I'm staying with a friend tonight." "What friend? What happened to the dinner?" "It's complicated. I'll explain tomorrow. Just don't worry, okay?" Nina was quiet for a moment. "This is about the guy, isn't it? The mysterious one." "Yeah. Is he hot?" Despite everything, Claire almost laughed. "That's really not the point." "But is he?" "I'll call you tomorrow. I promise." She hung up and sat on the edge of the bed. The room was too quiet, too clean, too much like a gilded cage. Claire explored the closet. Women's clothes in various sizes, all expensive, tags still attached. Like Victor kept a supply ready for unexpected guests. The thought disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. She showered, washing plaster dust and fear from her skin, found pajamas that fit, climbed into the massive bed. Sleep didn't come. At 2 in the morning, she gave up and wandered downstairs. The house was dimly lit, wall sconces providing enough light to navigate. She heard voices from somewhere deeper in the building, followed them to a partially open door. 3 separate attempts in 2 weeks. He's escalating. That was a voice she didn't recognize. Male, clipped. I'm aware, Jesse. Victor's voice, tired. Double the perimeter guards. I want eyes on every access point. That leaves the West warehouse understaffed. Then pull from the downtown office. I don't care. She's the priority. Silence. With respect, boss, maybe you should consider. Consider what? Putting her in a safe house across the country? Volkov has connections everywhere. Letting her go back to her life? He already knows her face. There's no good option here, Jesse. You could cut ties, make it clear publicly she means nothing to you. And if that doesn't work and he kills her anyway, more silence. Claire pressed closer to the door, straining to hear. You care about her. It wasn't a question. She saved my life. People have saved your life before. You send them money and Ovan. Victor didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter. She donated her own blood when she was exhausted. Put herself at risk for a stranger. When's the last time anyone did something for me without calculating the benefit? That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Now go. I want Volkov's location by morning. Footsteps approached the door. Claire barely had time to step back into shadow before a man emerged. Tall, blonde, built like someone who'd seen combat. He glanced in her direction but gave no indication he'd seen her, just walked down the hallway. Claire waited 30 seconds, then moved to the door. Victor sat behind a desk, head in his hands. His suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled up. The scar she'd glimpsed at his collarbone continued down. She could see now. Something violent had happened to him once. She knocked lightly. His head snapped up, hand moving to his waist where she realized he kept a gun. He saw her and his posture shifted. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? I rarely do. Claire stepped into the office. It was masculine, practical. Maps on one wall, screens showing security feeds on another. This was where he ran things. Whatever those things were. I heard you talking about me. Victor didn't deny it. You shouldn't eavesdrop. You shouldn't hold people prisoner. Is that what you are? A prisoner? Claire looked at the door. It wasn't locked. She looked at the windows. They weren't barred. I don't know what I am. Victor stood and moved to a cabinet. He poured amber liquid into 2 glasses, offered her one. Claire took it. Whiskey. She sipped and it burned. You're someone I'm trying to keep alive, Victor said. By making me a target in the first place. Yes. He drank his whiskey in one swallow. That's the paradox. My gratitude endangered you. Now that same gratitude requires me to fix it. This isn't your fault. Victor looked at her sharply. Of course it is. Volkov pulled the trigger. You were just existing. I've killed 17 men, Claire. He said it flatly, no emotion. Some deserved it. Some were just in the way. I run an empire built on violence and fear and money that comes from places decent people don't look. This is exactly my fault. The honesty of it should have terrified her. Instead, Claire found herself moving closer. Then why do you do it? Because I inherited my father's throne at 19, and the only way out is in a coffin. Because men like Volkov would kill hundreds to take what's mine. Because someone has to maintain order in the spaces where law doesn't reach. He set down his glass. Because I'm good at it. Claire studied his face, the exhaustion carved into it, the weight of whatever he carried. You look tired, she said quietly. I am. When's the last time you slept? Before the attack that landed me in the hospital. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. Claire moved behind him, professional instinct kicking in. You're going to collapse. I'll sleep when you're safe. Victor. The use of his name made him still. Claire realized it was the first time she'd said it. She placed her hands on his shoulders, felt the tension locked in the muscles there, started applying pressure. The way she'd learned in a massage therapy class years ago when she thought she might go into physical therapy instead of phlebotomy. Victor tensed further. You don't have to. Shut up. Slowly, gradually, she felt him relax. His head dropped forward. Claire worked the knots from his shoulders, his neck, the base of his skull. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by their breathing. Why are you doing this? Victor asked eventually. Because you're human, even if you're also a criminal. Those aren't mutually exclusive. I'm starting to realize that. Her hands stilled. Victor turned to look up at her. Their faces were inches apart. You should hate me, he said. I should. I don't know why I don't. Something shifted in the air between them. Victor reached up, his hand covering hers on his shoulder. His skin was warm. The moment stretched. Then alarms screamed through the house. Victor was on his feet instantly, gun in hand. "Stay here." "What's happening?" "Breach at the east perimeter." He moved to the door, spoke into a radio. "Jesse, report." Static. Then, multiple contacts, armed, looks like Volkov's people. "Lock down the house. I'm coming to you." Victor looked back at Claire. "There's a panic room 2 doors down. Steel door with a keypad. Code is 0927. Go there now, and don't open it for anyone but me." "Victor." "Now, Claire." The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in red. Victor grabbed her hand and pulled her into the hallway. They ran past artwork and expensive furniture toward the panic room. Behind them, glass shattered, shouting. Then gunfire. Victor shoved her toward the steel door. "Get inside. Lock it behind you." "What about you?" "I'll come back for you." His eyes met hers in the red emergency lighting. "I promise." Then he was gone, running toward the sound of battle. Claire stood frozen for 3 seconds. Then she punched in the code and pulled open the heavy door. Inside was a small room with monitors, supplies, weapons in a locked cabinet. She started to close the door and saw Jesse stumble into view at the end of the hallway, blood soaking his side. He collapsed. Claire's training overrode her fear. She ran toward him. Claire dropped to her knees beside Jesse. Blood soaked through his shirt, spreading dark and fast across his left side. His face was gray in the emergency lighting. "You're supposed to be in the panic room," he managed through gritted teeth. "You're bleeding." Claire pressed her hands against the wound. Hot blood welled between her fingers. "Where's the medical supplies?" "Safe room, too far." Gunfire erupted somewhere below them, closer than before. Claire looked around desperately. A decorative curtain hung nearby. She grabbed it and ripped, the fabric tearing with a sound that seemed too loud. "This is going to hurt." "Everything already hurts." Claire wadded the fabric and pressed it hard against Jesse's side. He sucked in air through his teeth, but didn't cry out. She used another strip to tie it in place, pulling tight. "You need a hospital." "Boss needs me first." More gunfire, shouting, someone screaming. The sounds of battle were getting closer. Jesse fumbled at his hip and pulled out a radio. His hands were shaking. "Victor. Claire's in the West Hall. I'm down." She didn't go to the panic room. Static. Then Victor's voice, strained. "Claire, if you can hear me, get to the safe room now." Jesse tried to push himself up. "I'll cover you." "You can barely sit up." "I can shoot." The emergency lighting flickered. Claire heard footsteps pounding on the stairs. Multiple people, running fast. Jesse pulled his gun with his good hand. "Get behind me. You'll bleed out. Better than letting them take you." The footsteps were at the top of the stairs now. Claire could see shadows moving in the red-lit darkness. Jesse raised his weapon. 2 men appeared. Dark clothes, masks, rifles. Jesse fired. Once, twice. 1 man went down. The other returned fire and Jesse jerked backward, fresh blood blooming on his shoulder. Claire grabbed for his gun. Her hands closed around metal. She'd never held a weapon before that night at the restaurant when Victor had talked her through the safe room cache. Her finger found the trigger. The masked man was turning toward her. Claire pulled the trigger. The recoil shocked her. The sound was impossibly loud. The bullet hit the wall 2 feet to the left of the target. The man raised his rifle. Then his head snapped back. He crumpled. Victor appeared from a side hallway, tactical gear over his shirt, rifle in his hands. His face was hard, cold, nothing like the exhausted man she'd massaged minutes ago. This was someone else entirely, someone who killed without hesitation. He moved past the bodies and reached them in 3 strides. "I told you to get to safety." He was dying. Victor assessed Jesse's wounds in seconds. "Can you walk?" "Can I breathe?" Debatable. "Can I walk?" Also debatable. "That's a yes." Victor pulled Jesse's arm over his shoulder and hauled him up. Blood dripped on the marble floor. He looked at Claire. "Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say when I say it." They moved down the hallway. Claire kept her hand on Victor's back, feeling the muscles move under the tactical vest. Every shadow made her flinch. Every sound could be another attacker. They made it to the panic room. Victor propped Jesse against the wall and punched in the code. The heavy door swung open. "Inside, both of you." "What about you?" Claire asked. "I'm ending this." Jesse grabbed Victor's vest with his good hand. "Don't do anything stupid." "Stupid would be letting Volkov think he can attack my home." "Boss." "That's an order, Jesse." Victor pushed them both inside. The panic room was small, maybe 10 by 12 feet. Monitors showed security feeds from around the estate. Supplies lined one wall. A gun cabinet stood locked in the corner. Claire immediately went to the supplies. First aid kit. She ripped it open. "Lie down," she told Jesse. "I should help. You should let me stop you from bleeding to death." Jesse lay back. Claire cut away his shirt with scissors from the kit. 2 wounds, one in his side, one in his shoulder. The side was worse, blood pulsing with each heartbeat. She worked fast. Gauze, pressure. Her hands moved on autopilot. Training overriding fear. Jesse watched her with hazy eyes. "You're good at this. I work with blood every day." She pressed harder. The bleeding was slowing, just usually not from bullet holes. First time for everything. On the monitors, Claire could see figures moving through the house. Victor's men in defensive positions. The attackers trying to breach. And Victor himself, visible on one feed, moving through the ground floor with lethal efficiency. She watched him clear a room. 2 attackers inside. He took them down in seconds. No hesitation. No mercy. Claire's stomach turned. "He's protecting you," Jesse said quietly, following her gaze. "Everything he's doing right now is for you. I didn't ask for people to die. Doesn't matter. You saved his life. That made you his responsibility." Jesse coughed. Blood flecked his lips. "He doesn't take that lightly." Claire found an IV kit in the supplies. Started a line in Jesse's arm. Saline to replace the blood volume he'd lost. His pressure was too low. She could see it in his color, his breathing. "You need a hospital." "After. You might not make it to after." Jesse smiled weakly. "Then I'll die knowing I did my job. That's a terrible comfort. It's all we have." On the monitors, the fighting intensified. More of Volkov's men were inside now. Claire counted 8 on the feeds. Victor's men were holding them back, but barely. Then she saw Victor on a monitor, cornered in what looked like his office. 3 men closing in. "No," she whispered. Jesse tried to sit up. "What?" "He's trapped." On screen. Victor moved. Fast. Brutal. He took down the first attacker with the rifle butt. Used the man's body as a shield when the second opened fire. Rolled, came up shooting. Both attackers went down, but the third was behind him. Claire watched the man raise his weapon, aim at Victor's unprotected back. She couldn't look away, couldn't breathe. Victor spun at the last second. Fired. The attacker dropped. Claire exhaled shakily. "He's the best at what he does," Jesse said, "even if what he does isn't pretty." Minutes crawled past. The sounds of fighting gradually diminished. Claire monitored Jesse's vitals, changed his bandages when blood soaked through, kept him talking so he wouldn't slip into shock. "Why do you work for him?" she asked. "He saved my life. 8 years ago, I was military, dishonorably discharged for something I didn't do. Homeless, broken. He gave me purpose. By making you a criminal, by making me family." Jesse looked at her. "That's what he does. Finds people the world threw away and gives them somewhere to belong. Through violence, sometimes, but also through protection, community. The neighborhoods he controls, safest places in the city. The businesses he runs employ hundreds of people who couldn't get work elsewhere." Jesse coughed again. "It's not all black and white. It should be. You're a good person, Claire. Don't let this place change that. I think it already has." The radio on Jesse's belt crackled. Victor's voice. Status. Jesse grabbed it with his good hand. "Stable. Claire's got me patched up. Volkov's men are retreating. We're securing the perimeter. I'm coming to you." 5 minutes later, the panic room door opened. Victor stood there, covered in blood and plaster dust. His eyes went immediately to Claire. "You're okay." It wasn't a question, but she nodded anyway. He looked at Jesse, at the bandages, the IV line. "You saved him." "It's what I do." Victor stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The small room felt smaller with him in it. He moved to Claire, his hands hovering near her shoulders, like he wanted to touch her, but wasn't sure if he should. "You should have stayed in here from the start." "I know. You could have been killed. So could Jesse. Jesse signed up for this life. You didn't." Claire met his eyes. "I did the moment I gave you my blood. You said it yourself." Actions have consequences. Something in Victor's expression cracked. He pulled her against him, his arms wrapping around her, one hand cradling the back of her head. He smelled like gunpowder and blood, and something underneath that was just him. "I can't lose you," he said into her hair. Claire's hands came up to his back. She felt him shaking. This man who just killed people without hesitation was shaking while holding her. "You won't," she whispered. Volkov won't stop. This was a statement. He's declaring war. Then what do we do? Victor pulled back just enough to look at her. We end it. Permanently. How? By making him think he's won. Victor's jaw tightened, and then taking everything from him. Jesse tried to sit up. Boss, you're not thinking. I'm thinking he just attacked my home, tried to kill you, tried to kill her. Victor's voice went cold. That requires a response. A measured response, not a suicide run. I'm not planning to die. Victor looked at Claire. But I am planning to put you somewhere he can't reach. Where? Here. With full security. No one gets in or out without my authorization. That's a prison. That's survival. He touched her face gently, his hand leaving a smudge of dirt on her cheek. For however long it takes. Claire wanted to argue, wanted to demand her freedom, but she'd seen what Volkov's men were capable of. She'd watched Victor fight for his life on those monitors. And she'd realized something while watching. She didn't want him to die. When had that happened? When had this dangerous criminal become someone she cared about? Okay, she said quietly. Okay? I'll stay until this is over. She looked at Jesse, then back at Victor. But I'm not hiding in a panic room. If I'm here, let me help. I'm a medical professional. You have wounded people. Victor studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. You help with the wounded, nothing else. You don't leave this building. You don't go near windows. You follow every security protocol. Agreed. And Claire, his hand was still on her face. When this is over, when Volkov is dead and you're safe, you can leave if you want. I won't stop you. And if I don't want to leave? The question hung between them. On the monitors behind Victor, his men were dragging bodies out of his house. Evidence of violence everywhere. This should repulse her. She should be planning her escape. Instead, she was leaning into his touch. Then you stay, Victor said softly, for as long as you want. Jesse cleared his throat weakly. This is very touching, but I'm still bleeding over here. The moment broke. Claire turned back to her patient. Victor moved to help, following her instructions with steady hands. And outside, in the darkness beyond the estate's walls, Roman Volkov watched the security feeds he'd hacked and smiled. The girl wasn't just a target anymore. She was Victor Kane's weakness. 2 weeks passed in a strange rhythm Claire had never expected to find normal. She woke at dawn in the guest room that had become hers, dressed in clothes from the endless supply in the closet, ate breakfast in a kitchen larger than her entire apartment while armed men patrolled outside the windows. Then she worked. Victor's estate had a medical bay she hadn't known existed. Fully equipped, sterile, stocked better than some clinics. Jesse recovered there under her care. 3 other men had been injured in the attack. Claire treated them all. Gunshot wounds, lacerations, 1 concussion. She stitched and bandaged and monitored vitals. The men were respectful, almost reverent. Word had spread that she'd saved Jesse's life while bullets flew. In Victor's world, that meant something. She saw him mostly in the evenings. He spent his days in the office, running his empire from behind closed doors. Phone calls in languages she didn't speak. Meetings with men in expensive suits who looked at her with curiosity when they passed in hallways. But at night, after his people left, he found her. Sometimes in the medical bay, where she was checking on patients. Sometimes in the library, where she discovered a collection that rivaled public archives. Once in the kitchen at 2 in the morning, when neither of them could sleep, they talked. About nothing. About everything. Claire learned he'd inherited his father's organization at 19, when a rival had killed the old man. Learned he had a sister somewhere in Europe who'd escaped the life. Learned he played piano, but hadn't touched one in years. He learned she'd wanted to be a doctor, but couldn't afford medical school. That her mother had died of cancer when Claire was 19. That she donated blood 4 times a year without fail, because it was the one thing she could give that truly saved lives. Until it nearly got you killed, Victor said that night in the kitchen. I'd do it again. I know. That's what terrifies me. The way he looked at her had been changing. Claire felt it like temperature shifts in a room. More lingering glances. His hand on her shoulder, lasting a moment longer than necessary. The space between them crackly with something neither acknowledged. On the 15th day, Victor called her to his office. Jesse was there, mostly healed. A woman Claire hadn't met stood by the window. Blonde, sharp-eyed, wearing tactical gear that suggested she was more than an assistant. Claire, this is Taylor, head of intelligence. Victor gestured to a chair. Sit, please. Claire sat. The tension in the room was palpable. We've located Volkov, Taylor said without preamble. He's attending a charity gala tomorrow night at the Meridian Hotel. Public venue, high security, lots of witnesses. Which makes it perfect, Jesse added. He thinks he's safe there. Claire looked between them. Perfect for what? Victor leaned against his desk. For planting surveillance equipment. We need eyes and ears on him. Real-time intelligence on his movements, his plans. So send your people in. Volkov knows all my people. We've been playing this game for 3 years. He has files on everyone in my organization. Victor's jaw tightened. Everyone except you. The realization hit her like cold water. No, you'd be in and out in 20 minutes. Plant a device in the powder room he's reserved for his party. It's simple. Simple? You just said he's trying to kill me. He's trying to kill you when you're connected to me. At the gala, you're just another guest. He's never seen your face directly. We've kept your photo off all databases. Taylor stepped forward. We've created a complete background for you. Invitation secured to the donor family. Your name won't raise flags. You walk in, plant the device, walk out. We'll have teams positioned throughout the hotel. Claire stood. This is insane. This is how we end it, Victor said quietly. Volkov is planning something big. We need to know what before he moves. Find another way. There is no other way. Victor moved closer. I wouldn't ask if there was any alternative. You're not asking, you're telling. No, I'm asking. His eyes met hers. You can say no, I'll find another path, but it will take longer. And every day Volkov operates freely is another day he's planning to hurt people I care about. The weight of that statement settled in her chest. People he cared about. That included her now. If I do this, I need to know what I'm walking into. No secrets. Victor nodded. Phi.
Robert Taylor, show her. Taylor pulled up files on the computer. Photos of the Meridian Hotel, floor plans, security positions, then photos of Roman Volkov. He was 42, stocky, bald, cold eyes that looked at the camera like he was already measuring it for a coffin. In one photo, he was laughing. Somehow that was more terrifying than if he'd been scowling. This is who wants me dead? Claire asked. This is who wants everyone dead who stands between him and control of the Eastern Territories, Taylor corrected. You're just the most recent target. How comforting. Victor touched her arm. You have an earpiece, direct line to me. I'll be in a surveillance van outside. First hint of trouble, my people extract you immediately. What kind of trouble? Recognition, confrontation, anything that feels wrong. His hand tightened slightly. I won't let him hurt you. Claire looked at the photos again. At this man who'd sent people to kill her, who'd attacked Victor's home, who would keep coming until someone stopped him. She thought about the last 2 weeks, about Jesse's loyalty, about the men she'd patched up who'd thanked her with genuine warmth, about Victor playing piano in the middle of the night when he thought no one could hear. This world was brutal, but it was also full of people fighting to protect each other. What do I wear to a charity gala? She asked quietly. Victor's expression shifted, relief mixed with something darker. Taylor will handle that. The next 24 hours were a blur of preparation. Taylor taught Claire how to use the listening device. A small chip that looked like a decorative pin. Press it against any surface and it would adhere, transmitting for weeks on battery power. Plant it under the counter in the powder room, Taylor explained. Feel for a recessed area, somewhere it won't be spotted during normal cleaning. They practiced until Claire could do it in under 10 seconds. Then came the dress. Black, elegant, expensive enough to fit in, but not so flashy it drew attention. Taylor styled Claire's hair into an updo that made her look older, more sophisticated. Light makeup that changed the shape of her face subtly. Claire stared at herself in the mirror. She looked like someone else, someone who belonged at galas with criminal overlords. You'll be fine, Taylor said. Just remember, you're boring. Rich, but boring. No one notices boring. That evening, Claire stood in the entrance hall, wearing the dress and feeling like an imposter. Victor came down the stairs in a suit that probably cost more than her car had. He stopped when he saw her. You look beautiful. I look terrified. That too. He closed the distance between them. You don't have to do this. Yes. We do. Victor pulled something from his pocket, a necklace, simple silver chain with a small pendant. He held it up, and Claire turned so he could fasten it around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin. She felt goosebumps rise. "The pendant has a tracker," he said quietly, his breath warm against her ear. "And a panic button. Press it twice and we come in loud." Define loud. Full tactical response. "We'll tear that hotel apart to get to you." Claire touched the pendant. It was warm from his pocket. "What if everything goes according to plan? Then you'll be back here in 2 hours and we'll celebrate with the good whiskey." She turned to face him. They were inches apart. His hand came up to cup her cheek. "I need you to come back," he said. "I will. Promise me." "Victor, promise me, Claire." She saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. This man who killed without hesitation was terrified of losing her. "I promise." He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, consuming, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. Claire's hands fisted in his jacket, pulling him closer. The world reduced to his mouth on hers, his hand tangled in her carefully styled hair, the way he held her like she might disappear. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Taylor cleared her throat from the doorway. "Car's ready." Victor rested his forehead against Claire's. "Be smart, be safe, come back to me." In that order? Preferably. The drive to the Meridian Hotel took 30 minutes. Claire sat in the back of a town car with Taylor beside her, going over the plan one more time. In through the main entrance. Check your coat. Head to the powder room on the second floor. Plant the device. Mingle for 10 minutes so it doesn't look suspicious. Then leave. What if Volkov talks to me? Be polite. Be forgettable. Don't engage beyond pleasantries. The hotel appeared ahead, tall, glittering, expensive. Valets rushed to open car doors. Women in gowns and men in tuxedos climbed marble steps. The car stopped. Taylor squeezed her hand once. "You've got this." Claire took a breath and stepped out. The lobby was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, fresh flowers everywhere. A string quartet played near the grand staircase. Waiters circulated with champagne. Claire checked her coat and took a glass she wouldn't drink, smiled at people she didn't know. Climbed the stairs to the second floor. The powder room was down a quiet hallway, elegant, empty. She moved to the counter, pulled the pin from her clutch. Felt under the marble surface for a recessed area. Found it. Pressed the device into place. 8 seconds. "Device planted," she whispered. The earpiece crackled. Victor's voice. "Good, now mingle and get out." Claire turned to leave. The door opened. A man stepped in. Stocky, bald, cold eyes that locked onto her immediately. Roman Volkov. Claire's blood turned to ice. "Miss Morrison," he said in accented English. "Finally, we meet properly." Her hand moved toward the pendant. Volkov's hand shot out faster, grabbing her wrist. "I wouldn't do that. My men are watching all the exits. You press that button and things get very messy, very publicly." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Now, you and I are going to have a conversation about Victor Kane." In the surveillance van, Victor heard everything. He was on his feet instantly. "All teams, move, now." Jesse grabbed his arm. "Boss, he's baiting you. The moment you go in, I don't care. I'm not leaving her." He was out of the van and running toward the hotel before anyone could stop him. Inside, Claire stared at Volkov and realized she'd just walked into a trap, and Victor was about to walk in right behind her. Volkov's grip on Claire's wrist was iron. He pulled her away from the counter, his other hand moving to his jacket where she knew he kept a weapon. "You think I didn't know about your little spy mission?" His accent made the words sharper. "I've been tracking Kane's organization for months. Every phone call, every movement, including yours." Claire's mind raced. The earpiece was still active. Victor could hear this. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, don't insult my intelligence." Volkov pulled out his phone with his free hand. "Show it." Dee heard the screen. Security footage of her planting the device 30 seconds ago. "You're very efficient. Kane trained you well." "He didn't train me for anything. I'm just the woman who saved his life." "Yes, I know the story. It's very touching." Volkov pocketed his phone. "Also very useful. Kane has been untouchable for years. No family, no friends, no weaknesses. Then you appear." In her ear, Victor's voice, tight with control. "Claire, stay calm. I'm coming." "Don't come," she whispered. Volkov smiled. "Oh, but he will. That's the point. I couldn't draw him out with money or territory or threats. But you? For you, He'll walk into anything. This is a public place. You can't just. Can't what? Have a conversation? We're talking. Nothing illegal about that. His hand tightened on her wrist. Though if you scream or make a scene, 12 people in this hotel will die. My men are positioned throughout the building, armed, waiting for my signal. Claire's blood ran cold. You'd kill innocent people? I'd kill hundreds to destroy Victor Kane. A few party guests are irrelevant. The door opened. A woman in a gown started to enter, saw them, hesitated. Excuse us, Volkov said smoothly. Private conversation. The woman backed out quickly. The door closed. Victor's voice in Claire's ear. I'm in the building. Second floor in 30 seconds. He's coming for you, Volkov said, like he could hear the same transmission. And when he does, my men will kill everyone he brought with him. Then they'll kill him, and you'll watch. Why? What did he do to you? He exists. Volkov's eyes went dead. 5 years ago, Victor's father promised me the Eastern Territories. I'd paid for them, in blood and money. Then the old man died and Victor took over. He decided that deal was void. Took what was mine. Built his empire on my foundation. So this is about business? This is about respect. About honoring debts. About making sure everyone knows what happens when you cross Roman Volkov. He pulled her toward the back door of the powder room. Now, you're going to walk with me calmly to the service elevator. We're going to the roof, and we're going to wait for Victor. And if I refuse? Volkov pulled a remote from his pocket, red button in the center. Then I press this, and the devices my men planted in the ballroom explode. 300 people die in seconds. Your choice. Claire's training had prepared her for medical emergencies, for blood and trauma and life-or-death decisions in controlled environments. Not this, not being used as bait while a madman threatened mass murder. But she thought of those 300 people downstairs, laughing, drinking, having no idea they were standing on top of explosives. Okay, she said quietly. I'll go. Victor's voice crackled in her ear. Claire, don't. He has bombs in the ballroom, she said clearly. Remote detonator. If you come for me, he'll kill everyone. Silence on the line. She could feel Victor's rage through the connection. Volkov smiled. Smart girl, now move. He walked her through the back door, down a service corridor. They passed hotel staff, who looked away quickly. Either they were paid to ignore things, or they sensed danger. The service elevator was industrial, meant for equipment and supplies. They rode in silence. Volkov kept the remote visible. Kept his hand on her arm. The elevator opened onto the roof. Wind hit Claire immediately, cold and sharp. The city spread out below them, lights glittering like stars fallen to earth. Helicopter pad to her left. HVAC units humming. And at the edge, a waist-high barrier between them and a 20-story drop. Volkov's men were already there. 6 of them, armed, positioned around the roof's access points. Secure? Volkov asked. Secure, sir, one answered. Kane's in the building. He's coming up. Good. Volkov finally released Claire's arm. Stand by the edge. Claire didn't move. If you're going to kill me anyway, I'm not going to kill you. You're going to kill yourself. Volkov gestured with the remote. When Kane arrives, you're going to jump, or I detonate the ballroom. His choice. Your death quick and isolated, or 300 deaths that make international news. You're insane. I'm practical. Kane needs to understand loss, needs to feel what I felt when he took everything from me. Volkov's expression was almost calm. After you jump, I'll kill him, slowly. Then I'll take his territories, his businesses, his legacy. And everyone will know Roman Volkov doesn't forgive. Claire looked at the edge, at the drop beyond. 20 stories. No one survived that. In her ear, Victor's voice. Claire, listen to me. Don't move toward that edge. I'm coming. We'll figure this out. There's no figuring this out, she said. Volkov thought she was talking to him, but the words were for Victor. Too many variables. Too many people at risk. There's always a way. Not this time. The roof access door burst open. Victor appeared, flanked by Jesse and 4 others, all armed, all ready. They stopped when they saw the setup, 6 rifles trained on them, Volkov holding the remote. Claire standing 15 feet from the edge. Victor's eyes locked on hers. Even from across the roof, she could see the fear in them, the calculation. He was running scenarios, looking for the play that saved everyone. There wasn't one. Victor, Volkov said pleasantly. Thank you for joining us. Let her go, this is between us. No, this is about you learning a lesson. Volkov raised the remote. Your woman jumps, or 300 people die. You have 60 seconds to decide. You won't detonate. Too many of your people in the building. I evacuated my people 10 minutes ago. Everyone left down there is expendable. Volkov's thumb hovered over the button. 50 seconds. Victor took a step forward. 3 rifles immediately tracked to him. Don't, Jesse said quietly. I'm not watching her die. You are, Volkov said. That's the whole point. 40 seconds. Claire looked at Victor. At this man who'd consumed her life in 2 weeks. Who'd shown her a world of violence and loyalty and complicated morality. Who'd held her like she was precious. Who'd kissed her like she was air. She'd promised to come back to him. She was about to break that promise. I'm sorry, she said. Claire, no. Victor's voice cracked. Don't. 30 seconds, Volkov announced. Claire walked toward the edge. Each step felt both too fast and too slow. The wind pushed at her, like the world itself was trying to stop her. Claire. Victor lunged forward. 2 of Volkov's men tackled him, drove him to his knees. He fought like a wild thing. But they held him, forced him to watch. 20 seconds. Claire reached the barrier, looked down, saw the street far below, cars like toys, people like dots. Her hand went to the pendant around her neck. The tracker, the panic button. She pressed it twice. I'm sorry I couldn't keep my promise, she said. Then she turned and ran, not toward the edge, toward Volkov. He wasn't expecting it. No one was. Claire had been a nurse, a caregiver, someone who saved lives. She wasn't supposed to be capable of violence. But 2 weeks with Victor had taught her something. When there were no good choices, you made the least bad one. She hit Volkov low and hard. They went down together. The remote flew from his hand, skittered across the roof. Chaos erupted. Smoke grenades detonated at 3 access points. White clouds billowed across the roof. Victor had brought backup, real backup. Not just the 6 with him, but teens positioned throughout the building. Gunfire, shouting. Jesse broke free and tackled one of Volkov's men. Claire grappled with Volkov on the ground. He was stronger, heavier, trained. He flipped her, his hands going for her throat. She couldn't breathe. Black spots danced in her vision. Then Volkov's weight disappeared. Victor had him, was hauling him up, was hitting him with the kind of rage Claire had never seen. Once, twice. Volkov's nose shattered, blood sprayed. The remote. Where was the remote? Claire saw it near the HVAC unit. She crawled toward it, her throat screaming. Grabbed it. A hand caught her ankle. One of Volkov's men, wounded but moving. He pulled her back, reaching for the remote. Claire kicked, connected with his face, grabbed the remote and hurled it as hard as she could toward the edge of the roof. It sailed over the barrier, fell, disappeared into the night. 20 stories down, it hit the pavement and shattered. The ballroom didn't explode. There had never been real bombs. Just the threat. Just Volkov's bluff. Claire lay on her back, gasping. Around her, the fight was ending. Victor's people had taken down Volkov's men. Jesse had 2 of them zip-tied. The smoke was clearing, and Victor was above her, his hands on her face, her neck, checking for damage. You're okay, you're okay. He kept repeating it. I've got you. The bombs. Bluff. We swept the ballroom. Nothing there. He pulled her against him. His whole body was shaking. You almost died. You almost. But I didn't. Sirens wailed in the distance. Multiple units. Someone had called the police. Jesse appeared beside them. Boss, we need to go, now. Victor stood, pulling Claire with him. They moved toward the stairwell, away from the access point where police would arrive. Behind them, Volkov groaned. Conscious but barely. Victor paused, looked back. Leave him, Jesse said. Police can have him. No. Victor's voice went cold. He walked back to where Volkov lay bleeding. Knelt beside him. You threatened her. You tried to kill her. You made her think she had to jump. Victor, Jesse warned. That's a debt that needs settling. Victor pulled his gun. Boss, not here, not now, too many witnesses. Victor stared at Volkov for a long moment. Then he stood, holstered his weapon. You're right, not here. But the look he gave Volkov promised this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. They extracted through the service levels, out a delivery entrance where cars waited. Claire was in an SUV with Victor, before she'd fully processed what had happened. As they pulled away, she saw police cars swarming the hotel, saw people evacuating, saw the chaos she'd helped create. "I broke your world," she whispered. "No." Victor's arm was around her, holding her tight. "You saved it." The safe house was 40 minutes outside the city. Small, secure, surrounded by woods that made surveillance easy. Victor's people had swept it twice before letting them inside. Claire sat on a worn couch while a medic checked her throat. Bruises were already forming where Volkov had choked her. Her voice came out rough. "Nothing permanently damaged," the medic said. "Ice it. Rest your voice for a day or two." Victor stood by the window, watching the perimeter. He hadn't stopped moving since they'd arrived. Pacing, checking his phone, coordinating with Jesse, who'd stayed behind to manage the fallout. When the medic left, silence filled the space between them. "You should have stayed in the powder room," Victor said finally, not looking at her. "He knew I was coming. You should have run." "Where?" His men were everywhere. Victor turned. His face was carefully blank, but his hands were shaking. "You walked toward the edge. You were going to jump, to save 300 people. There were no bombs." "I didn't know that." Claire stood despite her protesting body. "All I knew was people would die if I didn't. What was I supposed to do?" "Not almost die." Victor closed the distance between them in 3 strides. "Not make me watch. Not." His voice broke. He turned away. Claire touched his back, felt the tension locked in every muscle. "Victor, I can't lose you." "You didn't." "I almost did." He spun back to face her. "Do you understand what that means? I've lost people, family, friends. It's part of this life. But watching you walk to that edge, knowing I couldn't stop it." He stopped, looked away. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "I would have burned that whole hotel down, everyone in it, just to save you. That's how compromised I am." The admission hung between them. Claire had known Victor cared, but this was something else, something that scared him. "I'm still here," she said softly. "This time. What about next time? What about when Volkov's in custody? I heard Jessel say the police have him." "The police won't hold him. He has lawyers, money, connections. He'll be out in 48 hours." Victor's jaw tightened. "And then he'll come for you again. So what do we do?" "I end it, permanently." Claire understood what he meant. Not arrest, not legal consequences. The kind of ending that left bodies and no witnesses. She should be horrified, should argue for justice through proper channels, but she thought of Volkov's hands on her throat, his cold calculation about killing hundreds, his promise that this wouldn't stop. "When?" she asked. Victor studied her face. "You're not going to tell me not to?" "Would it change anything?" "No." "Then why waste the words?" Claire sat back down. Her legs felt unsteady. "I'm not naive anymore, Victor. I know what world I'm in. What has to happen for people to be safe? You shouldn't have to know that. But I do. Because I saved your life. Because I made a choice." She looked up at him. "I'm still making it. Every day I stay, I'm choosing this." Victor knelt in front of her, took her bruised hands in his. "After Volkov is handled, you can leave, go back to your apartment, your job, your normal life. I'll make sure you're protected but distant. You can forget this happened. What if I don't want to forget?" "Claire, what if I want to stay?" The question stopped him. He searched her face like he was looking for a lie. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying. I've had 2 weeks to think about it. To see how you operate, what you do, who you are." She squeezed his hands. "You're not a good man, Victor Kane." "No, I'm not. But you're not purely evil either. You protect people. Provide for communities the system abandoned. Yes, you do it through violence and crime. But the world isn't black and white like I thought it was. That doesn't mean you should stay in it. Maybe not. But maybe I want to anyway." Victor's thumb traced the bruises on her wrist. "I'll ruin you. Or I'll save you. I'm not worth saving. Let me decide that." They stayed like that, kneeling together in a safe house that smelled like dust and old wood. Outside, guards patrolled. Somewhere in the city, police were questioning Volkov. Jesse was cleaning up evidence. The machinery of Victor's empire kept turning. And in this small room, 2 people who shouldn't fit together tried to figure out if they could. Victor's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. Volkov posted bail. "He's out." "Already?" "I told you. Lawyers and money." He stood. I need to go. Where? To end this. Claire grabbed his hand. Don't go alone. I won't. Jesse's assembling a team. He touched her face gently. Stay here. Don't leave until I come back. Victor, promise me. She wanted to argue, wanted to demand he let her help, let her be part of whatever came next. But she saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear from the rooftop. I promise. But you have to promise something too. What? Come back alive. Victor kissed her, soft at first. Then deeper, like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. I'll come back. I always do. Then he was gone. Claire waited. Hours passed. She showered, changed into clothes someone had left for her, tried to eat but couldn't, tried to sleep but her mind wouldn't stop. She thought about the man she'd been 2 weeks ago, the nurse who donated blood and struggled to pay rent, who thought the world had clear lines between good and evil. That person felt like a stranger now. At 3 a.m, headlights appeared in the driveway. Claire was at the window instantly. The SUV parked. Victor got out, moving stiffly. She met him at the door. Are you hurt? No. But there was blood on his shirt. Not his, she realized. It's done. Volkov won't hurt anyone again. Claire didn't ask for details, didn't want to know exactly how it had ended. Some things were better left in the dark. Victor looked exhausted, drained. Like whatever he'd done had taken more from him than just physical energy. Come on, Claire said. You need to rest. She led him to the bedroom, helped him out of the blood-stained shirt. He sat on the edge of the bed, and she cleaned the scrapes on his knuckles. Small injuries, nothing serious. I killed him, Victor said quietly. Put a bullet in his head and watched him die. I've done it before. We'll do it again. That's who I am. I know. And you're still here. I'm still here. Victor pulled her down beside him. They lay together in the darkness, not speaking. His arm around her, her head on his chest. Two broken people finding comfort in each other. What happens now? Claire asked. Now we go home, back to the estate. We rebuild, strengthen security. Make sure everyone knows what happens when you come after what's mine. And me? What am I in all this? Victor was quiet for a long moment. Whatever you want to be. 6 months later. Claire walked into the Riverside Blood Donation Center for the first time since everything had changed. Dr. Wells looked up from her desk, and her mouth fell open. Claire? Oh my God, where have you been? Around. Can I donate today? You just vanished for 6 months and you want to donate blood? I've missed my regular schedule, but I should catch up. Dr. Wells studied her. Claire knew what she saw. The expensive clothes Nina hadn't lent her this time. The confidence that came from surviving things most people couldn't imagine. The way she carried herself now, like someone used to making hard decisions. You look different, Dr. Wells said carefully. I am different. Good different? Claire thought about that, about the medical clinic she now ran on the East Side. Fully funded by Victor's organization, but legitimate. Serving communities that had nowhere else to go. About the apartment she kept separate from the estate because she needed some independence. About Nina, who'd asked 1,000 questions and accepted the vague answers Claire could give. About Victor, who came to her apartment 3 nights a week and held her like she was the only thing keeping him human. Different, Claire said. Can I donate or not? Dr. Wells smiled. Sign in. I'll get you set up. 20 minutes later, Claire lay in the donation chair, watching her blood flow through the tube. AB negative, the universal plasma donor. Rare and valuable. Like everything in her life now. Through the window, she could see the black SUV parked across the street. Victor's people, always watching, always protecting. She didn't mind anymore. Her phone buzzed. Text from Victor. How long? 30 minutes, she replied. I'll pick you up. Dinner tonight? If you're cooking? I'll have someone cook. I'll supervise. That's not the same thing. Close enough. See you soon. Claire smiled and set her phone down. Dr. Wells checked her blood pressure. Boyfriend? She asked, nodding at the phone. Something like that. He must be special. Claire thought about Victor, about his violence and his protection. His empire built on darkness. The way he looked at her like she was light in that darkness. He is, she said. Very special. The donation finished. Dr. Wells bandaged her arm and handed her juice.
Claire drank it, watching the bag of her blood being labeled and stored.
Somewhere, someday, that blood would save someone's life. Maybe someone good. Maybe someone terrible. She'd never know. Just like she'd never known that saving Victor Kane would destroy her old life and build a new one from the ashes. "Thank you for donating," Dr. Wells said. "Will you be back?" Claire stood. Through the window, she saw Victor's SUV pull up. Saw him get out.
Tall and dangerous in his expensive suit. He saw her through the glass and his expression softened.
"Yeah," Claire said. "I'll be back." She walked outside. Victor opened the car door for her, his hand warm on her back as she slid in. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Like I gave something important away and got something more important back." "That's cryptic. That's life." Victor smiled. It was rare and genuine, the smile he saved only for her. "Dinner, then home?" "Home," Claire agreed. The SUV pulled away from the blood donation center, away from her old life, toward whatever came next in this complicated, dangerous, impossible existence they'd built together. She donated blood to a stranger. Never imagined he was the most dangerous man alive. Never imagined she'd fall for him anyway. But life was full of surprises, and Claire Morrison had learned to embrace them.